Today we're going to talk about pre-ordering, and let me tell you, it's a real can of bees. I haven't pre-ordered a game personally in a very long time. This is in very stark contrast to me in my earlier youth when I would pre-order almost everything, and when I think back, I can understand why this was the case. I was afraid that the games I wanted to buy at launch would not be available, and back then, fair enough, it was a different time. However, I've turned a corner in my opinions about pre-orders, and in the new age of digital distribution and widespread availability of games and gaming systems, I can't see any reason to put money down for something that might be good in the future, or might not be good in the future, as is so often the case, unfortunately. The act of pre-ordering, i.e. making a down payment for a product before release to guarantee it will be available to you at launch, requires two things: money and a considerable degree of trust, and this is something that I have a number of problems with. First, games are readily available and are almost always released on digital distribution platforms as well as in the form of physical discs. In other words, they are not going to run out, at least it's extremely unlikely if you live in a developed area. I can agree that at this point it's pretty moot if you live somewhere like Central Australia, but you are, fairly just a fraction of the population, so you can put your hands down. So there, basically in most cases, is no point in pre-ordering to guarantee yourself a copy. Secondly, and this really is the most important point, the trust. Activision, Square Enix, Ubisoft, Electronic Arts, for goodness sake. None of these companies deserve your trust. All of these companies have abused the trust of customers in the past, and the idea of giving any one of them actual money in return for a hypothetical product that isn't finished yet is something that I find very concerning. The unfortunate popularity of pre-orders has eventuated in something kind of shitty, pre-order culture, which has seen developers cutting scraps of content out of complete games and including these disembodied pieces of meat as a bonus for pre-ordering. There isn't a single pre-order I've seen in recent years that hasn't got some sort of extraneous content attached to it that should have been included in the main game. This stuff usually takes the form of a weapon or a character skin or an extra level, something of that sort, and older players will remember a time when this would have been a glorious reward given to the player for beating the game. It's in this manner that these shit-hat developers strong-arm many players into pre-ordering. But where is the real harm, I hear you ask? Well, the harm is evident when the game that comes out is shit. It's happened to me before, and I wager this has affected many of you also, and my heart bleeds for you. I really do feel your pain. You can never 100% guarantee that a new game will be any good, no matter how good the screenshots or trailers look, and committing to a game in advance can be a very dangerous practice, and eventually you will end up getting burned. For instance, and yes, I'm using this game again because I'm still mad about it, the massively highly anticipated Destiny was widely pretty much thought to be the best game ever by many aspiring players a year before launch, before anyone had even played it yet. The game was hyped up to no end, of course the pre-orders flooded in, the game was released, the game was lackluster, vapid, and was very clearly missing some important bits like, the story. Because of course it was. And the real sick thing about it is, I trusted Bungie, we all did, and I still can't believe that it came out so horrible and boring. It doesn't make any sense. Why are there 19 currencies in this one little city-state on top of a tower? I don't know. We only have one currency in this country, and our country's huge. Anyway, I'm going off script here, I'm going to get back to it. This brings me to the subject of season passes. I really don't like season passes. Many people defend them, but I really just can't. They're essentially a manner of pre-ordering DLC, and this is a gross thing because most DLC is total dickbats and not really worth the cost, and is usually comprised, very much like the pre-order bonuses I talked about before, of content very obviously cut out of the main game. There is of course the fact that DLC bought as part of a season pass is cheaper, on average, than the sum of its parts, but please pick your battles very carefully. I purchased a season pass myself, namely Telltale's Game of Thrones. This is one of the battles that I've picked very carefully. I have a certain degree of faith in Telltale because of their track record, and because I thoroughly researched the game myself to see that it wasn't total pants through the consumption of reviews and let's plays, which I would of course advise doing with any product before purchase. Let the YouTubers and the Let's Players and PewDiePie buy the game and spend his money, he has enough, to see if the game's any good. You check with him, and he'll tell you it's all good, or Total Biscuit, or Boogie, or Jim Sterling, or whoever. Let them do the work of actually playing the expensive games before you waste your money on something that you're not going to like. You know, furthermore, I've played a number of Telltale's games and I've always enjoyed them. A Game of Thrones story in the vein of their excellent The Walking Dead? Heck yes. I trust Telltale. I defy anyone to tell me in earnest that they actually trust Electronic Arts or Ubisoft.